Hey guys, T2 out here. Welcome back to the Time Preparedness channel. Normally for Wednesdays we do gear reviews. Um, I'm out of gear reviews, but I do want to show kind of what I do to prep for winter. The little things, nothing big, nothing major. You ain't got to go out and buy, a new underground bunker, but just some small things. So one of the things we do is those vents right there. We close them. That allows airflow under the house to cool it off from the bottom. They work well in summertime. Obviously in winter, you do not want cold air underneath your house. That's bad. Hey puppies. So the next thing we keep an eye on is this right here. This is our 250 gallon propane tank. Our house runs on propane, both cooking and heating. And so we need to make sure that that tank right there is full all the time. 250 gallons, they can fill it up to 80%. It does have a gauge on it that will tell you how full it is. Right now it's at 70%, and it's only like a week or two into winter. So we have to keep an eye out on it because every year we do run out, we do run low. The first year we had this house, we didn't realize that that is what ran the heat system and didn't keep an eye on it. And lo and behold, it ran out. And yeah, that wasn't good. Talking with the propane companies around here, they said that the days of next day fuel delivery are pretty much done. Obviously there's fuel shortages, and so we have to keep an eye on that. The prices have damn near doubled. I know for the little 20 pounders that I use in my griddle, it went from $40 to $60 for the swappable tanks. So a $20 increase, a 50% increase. That sucks. So that propane tank, we do keep an eye on it. We check it once a week. If it gets about 30%, we start calling. Hey guys, we need propane in a couple of days. And they've been pretty good about it. But you have to have a backup method. And we do. Not necessarily a primary backup, but you have to have a backup. So make sure you have a backup. If you got a propane tank, go ahead and get it filled up and keep an eye on it, especially this year. So another thing that we do is we have this backup space heater on our wall that runs on the same propane tank outside. We make sure that this thing works. First thing you want to make sure is there's no toys in front of it, around it, in it. There is a gas line down here. And even without power, I can still turn this on and it'll flame up. This will heat up this room. It's not going to do great for long term, but it will at least heat up this room. We can hang up some plastic sheeting and close this room off and at least have a heat source and a place to sleep. So another place that we keep an eye on is our backup cooking methods. Yes, we run propane inside the house, but if that ever goes bad, if that ever goes out, we need to have a way to have a backup cooking method. We have a charcoal grill. We have 2 big old bags of charcoal to go with it. We have a propane griddle, so we can cook eggs, bacon, sausage, steaks, you name it on that. And we also have a Coleman classic stove, and I've got a couple of 1-pound propane tanks for that. So there's 3 backup cooking methods. Again, we run on propane. It works whenever the power's out, but for some reason, if we ran out, we couldn't find any, whatever the case was, we have backup methods. This right here is our kerosene heater. And now I know there's a lot of people that will tell you, hey, kerosene is dangerous, you don't want to use it, yada, yada, yada. That's cool. I grew up on kerosene. That's how we heated our house. And yes, it is dangerous. Yes, there is a fire hazard. I get that. But that kerosene heater will heat up the entire house. 1 gallon of kerosene in that heater will last for about 24 hours. So that right there is fantastic. 5 gallons of kerosene will last me for 5 days. As you can tell, it's dirty. So one thing that I do now that it's wintertime is I'll bring it out of the building and I'll wash it down. I'll clean it up. Hot soapy water, a little sponge, get it going, get it looking all nice and good. I'll make sure that it has a good wick. I will make sure that it burns properly, it burns cleanly as it can for being kerosene. And I'll make sure that before I bring it inside my house, and before I use it to save my family, so to speak, that it doesn't explode, that it's not going to melt down. It doesn't have some bird nest built up in it, and then the first time I use it, boom, big fire. Again, it's kerosene. Of course it's dangerous, it's fire. Does it work? 100%. Kerosene, a little bit more pricier than gas, but I don't plan on using it all the time. That is our backup to the backup. So again, we have the propane tank. Every year we run out of propane. So for a day, maybe 2 days, we might have to bring that kerosene heater out, light it up, especially at nighttime when the kids are asleep, and put it in the kitchen away from them and away from everything that's flammable. And yeah, there's a smell to it, but it works, and it works well. Another thing that we keep an eye on is our generators. We have one right here, we have one right there. So both of these generators are 4,000 watt generators. This one runs at 3,200. I think that one runs at like 35, 3,600. I do something that most people will tell you is a no-no, and I fill these up. So why do I fill these generators at the beginning of winter? Chances are I'm going to need them. Every year we've lost power for about a day or two because of some winter storm, whether that's me personally, or whether that's a friend, a buddy, a family member, a relative, whatever. They've needed a generator. If I have power, I'll pass out my generators. And one thing that I learned last year is just because a person has a generator doesn't mean that they have fuel for that generator. Last year I took one of these generators to my dad and his wife. Brought them a brand new generator. Hey, here you go, y'all can use it. They didn't have fuel for it. They had a 1 gallon gas jug that they were running back and forth to the store to fill up 1 gallon at a time, bringing it, putting it in the generator, going back to the store, bringing it, filling it up, going back to the store. So my thoughts are that I have some backup fuel. So if this thing is empty and it holds almost 4 gallons and I fill it up, it has a 12-hour runtime at 50%. That only leaves 1 gallon in that tank right there. So if I go ahead and top it off at the beginning of wintertime, when I know that I'm going to need it, well, I can go ahead and refill that. So I'll have 4 in here and 5 in there. So that's 9 gallons versus just 5 gallons. So I'll get an extra 12 hours and then some from it. To me, that's pretty smart. Make sure they have oil, make sure the spark plugs work, make sure you know how to crank and operate this thing. You, your wife, your kids know how to work this thing. And you got to make sure you have drop cords, you have spark plugs, you have everything that you need to make this thing run as it should. There's no point in having a generator if you don't have the things to operate. So another thing that we do is we do wrap our windows in bubble wrap, both the inside and the outside. It doesn't help much, but every little bit helps. We make sure we have winter jackets in our cars. We make sure we have blankets in the cars. My get home bag will be next week's video, that I will be swapping it over to my wintertime loadout. And I understand that this video is completely different than my normal Wednesday gear reviews, but wintertime is an important time to prep. You want to prep beforehand versus during. Now again, I live in the South. Our winter times don't get nearly as bad, but we still prepare. Last year, a winter storm came through, knocked out power for a couple of days. Not here where I live, but across the county. So you got to be ready for that. A lot of people had to go to hotels. A lot of people had to go to family members' homes because they weren't ready. You have got to be ready. Especially this year, again, there's shortages everywhere. So go ahead and get the things you need now and get ready, because this wintertime could get bad. If you do live in one of the states that have a worse wintertime, give me some tips, right? I lived in North Dakota for a little while. It sucked. It was cold. But I couldn't change the fact that I lived on base in a dorm. Couldn't change anything. I learned the value of a 0-degree sleeping bag. But if you do live in one of those states, drop in the comment section some advice. What do you do to ensure you have power? What do you do to ensure that you have propane? What do you do to ensure that your stuff lasts longer than it normally would? What are your backup power methods, and what are your backup cooking methods? Alright guys, that's all I got for today's video. Again, next week's will be the get home bag swap over. So y'all stay tuned for that one. That's all I got. T2 out.